ground, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling? Welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he's king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, non-contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
Ooh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump podcast. I'm your host, Kyle, otherwise known as the hardest part of the ring. Whew. WrestleMania season, baby. Are your cockles vibrating in your chest? If they are not, I don't know. Maybe you're just not excited, I guess. But with it being WrestleMania season, no better show to cover than a WrestleMania. Come on now. WrestleMania. Wait, hold on. Look at me. Can you guess what WrestleMania we're covering? Probably saw the title of the podcast, so you probably know. But representing Bret Hart on the old button-up today for a WrestleMania 12. We are covering today, of course, that classic Iron Man match, or is it, from this event between Bret Hart and another man. I mean, you might be looking at me and you're like, hardest part of the ring, you're clearly a Bret Hart guy. Well, you, sir or madam, asking that or saying that, would have a giant egg on your face because, yeah. Yeah. How do I get all this in frame? Yeah. What do you think of this? What do you think of them apples? See? You can go both ways. So yes, the Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. It's very topical too, because we are fresh off the heels as of recording this off of the AEW Revolution 2023 60-minute Iron Man match between Bryan Danielson and MJF. So naturally, it's the same match type, and there haven't been a ton of them, at least in major promotions over the years, 60 minutes, that is. So naturally, people are going to compare the two, and we get into that in the podcast, and I think there's a lot of interesting points to be made in terms of comparing the two, but lots to get into, of course, it being WrestleMania season, so sometimes things just fall into place, don't they? But yes, the Iron Man match, I mean, it's a big chunk of the show. We also got the Backlot Brawl between Roddy Piper and Goldust, which is, if you're not familiar with this, fucking buckle in. If you are familiar with this, strap on and put your seatbelt on. And what else on this show? Savio Vega's here. For some reason, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Hello. Come on now. We're almost there. And just a lot of other shenanigans. Todd Pettingill's here. There's fucking people ziplining all over the place. It's a wacky show, but a fun show. And I had a fun old time talking about it. But who did I talk? I didn't talk to myself about it. Who did I talk about it with? Well, I brought on an old colleague, an old flame, an old fluffer. I brought on Kenny from A Kenny for Your Thoughts. It's been a little dormant lately, but it's in hibernation for the winter, whatever groundhogs do. But Kenny, the groundhog, is popping up out of the ground for this episode because there's all right. Kenny's on the show. He's my guest, and we have a good old time talking about WrestleMania 12. You can follow him on Twitter at _Kenny Thoughts. All his socials, all his info in the description below. Go check out his podcast. Check out the archives of Kenny for your thoughts. A lot of it's very evergreen. And hop on the train now because he has content he's planning on putting out at some point. I can't remember if we talk about it when the recording was on or not, but he'll be back and he'll be black because he has blonde hair on this, so he'll be black again probably. I mean, his hair will. Let's get into the show, shall we? But yes, if you like this type of episode, you like the new generation, you just like 90s wrestling in general. Hover a plethora of that on the Apron Bump, and you can go to apronbump.com to check all of it out. And you can go to the episodes tab at the top, and you can filter to any promotion, any era you'd like to listen to me recap. You can filter to New Generation, or you can filter to Wrestling Wars of the 90s, which encapsulates all of WWF, WCW, and ECW in one chronological timeline. All for your enjoyment. So go to that. Go to apronbump.com, of course, wherever you listen to podcasts. On YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, give Daddy a like. Give Daddy a comment. Leave a comment on if you would let Goldust into your backlot. Let me know. And hey, stay tuned for the end of the podcast where the hardest promotion of 1996 battle continues on. May or may not have a new jingle for that segment. Paid a large sum of money for this very professional jingle that leads into that segment at the end of the podcast. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I think I'm all plugged up. Let's get to... No, better yet, let's zipline over to Anaheim and... talk some WrestleMania 12, shall we? WWF WrestleMania 12 with myself and Kenny from, I don't know. He does stuff. He drinks coffee. He has very blonde hair, too. He looks like Logan Paul. Sexual transmutation, everybody. That's the first thing that was said after I hit record, so we're just going to let it roll as it is.
And now it should work.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of Kenny in my ears.
You're not the first guy to say that.
Okay. Man, the hair's even blonder in like it's not in person, but in motion.
Yeah. When I said I was blonde, I'm like bleach blonde. Like surfer, like I feel like I should be doing Surfer Sting promos. You know, like I should be going like, I'll eat you up like a shark. Like, whatever crazy, stupid shit he used to do.
Wait, what did he do again?
I'm going to eat you up like a shark. He did that in a promo, I swear.
I believe you. No, the Sting is one of the worst promos of all time, but that's a different podcast in itself.
You think, like, legit, like, but
he's not the worst, but he's like
in one of the worst in the best ways, right?
Yeah, he's entertaining, but he's not like good. He's good in the same way Sid is good.
Right.
You look like you look like Sonata. Are you familiar with Sonata? The
like
Japanese
Sonata
wrestler.
I was just gonna say like had a stint in TNA.
Not James Storm's Sonata. I mean like current day Sonata. He has like the blonde. He had like blonde tips on his beard for a little bit. I don't know what he has. He always has wacky hair.
I saw Kenta lately, and he was rocking something similar. I was like, Kenta went and straight copied me. But
who's your motivation? Who did you think of when you went blonde? So there's got to be somebody.
If you want me to tell you the truth,
Cody Rhodes.
The truth was I was going for gray, and then my hair was starting to get like so like dried and damaged that I looked at the blonde. I went, that works.
You're trying
and
to
I
dye
just stopped
gray?
there. I was going like almost like full white. But it was a little bit too damaging to the hair, and I was just like, for shits and giggles, let's just keep the blonde because I've never been blonde, and I just think it would be funny.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I asked my wife right before I came on if we had a blonde wig anywhere, because we had the like looks. I didn't give her any context. I just asked her if we had a blonde wig, and she said
A blonde wig, right?
And then I walked in and didn't say anything. So she's just out there wondering what the hell I do in here. But
wife though, like the last time I was on here, you weren't even married yet. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. And you still had a podcast last time we were on.
I still had a podcast.
Actually, no, I don't think you did. Actually, no, I think
I'd already stopped it. Yeah.
You've been retired for a long time. Any plans on bringing it back, or any like version of it?
Yeah, actually, I mean, without spoiling too much, I got a lot of kind of content building that I kind of want to do. I kind of want to do this like coffee wrestling hybrid content thing because I'm like really getting into coffee right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna find a way. So we just need a catchy name like wrestling has-beens or something. I mean, that's a good off the cuff one.
That's fun. That's fun. We're having fun.
Right, we're having fun. More fun if we had a blonde wig, which this is obviously, because no person in the right mind would do this to their hair.
I have a pink wig, but that would just be dumb if I put that on. So we're not going to do that.
As dumb as dyeing your hair blonde, looking like me.
No, you're still. So anyway, WrestleMania 12, right?
Oh man, I've been getting ready. For this podcast. I've been listening. I've been drinking. Actually, I drank like 2 primes right before I got in here. So shout out to Logan Paul. Maybe that's the inspiration for this hair. Drank 2 primes and definitely been listening to Stevie Wonder, and you know why, obviously.
Right? Yeah, I mean that speaks for itself. I do like Prime. I hate that Prime's good, but it is.
Thank you.
It's a tasty.
Have you had the ice pop flavor?
I've had the blue one and the orange one, I think.
It's the red, white, and blue. It's the one that looks like the old WWF ring that the Macho Man Randy Savage used to wrestle in. Yeah.
You mean the Nacho Man, right?
It may be the Huckster, yeah.
Did you by any chance get a chance to watch that link I sent you? It was like short notice.
Not only did I watch it, but I've seen that. Like the good thing is, like, even if I didn't watch WrestleMania 12 again before I got on here, I've known it, because it's like this is like that time period where I remember every single detail. But yes, I did watch it.
Yeah, so this is my first time watching this show, including that
really
free-for-all match. But I mean, I've been watching all the Raws and stuff leading up to it, and all the Billionaire Ted skits and all that. What a I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, the match. I bring this up because they had the culmination of all of that was a free-for-all match. But it was like a cinematic match. It was just, I don't know. What did you enjoy it? I thought it was pretty dumb myself.
No, it was absolutely, like, you could have done I've seen better video packages in like 1993 ECW set to like Born to Be Wild, by Bruce Springsteen songs and other songs that they ripped off. It was terrible. I don't know what they were thinking, especially it's like an insult to, like, I don't know. Like, these are characters you created in the WWF. Mm-hmm. You're trashing them. So you're basically saying, like, you were behind the times. Now they're in another company, and it's like, it almost made me want to watch Hogan and Macho Man in WCW just so I don't have to watch the Huckster and the Nacho Man with Scheme Gene.
It was so dumb because, first of all, this old Huckster guy that, can't wrestle and he has to get CPR, he's literally going to be their champion in 6 years in the WWE.
When you say it like that.
Yeah, like an even older version of him. Apparently that was fine. And the fact that they got Roddy Piper and Ultimate Warrior coming back, and then they got Jake the Snake Roberts. It's like, what are we doing here? But I guess,
Yeah, it's like trashing. I guess my thing is it'd be like me and you going and trashing old episodes that me and you were on of this podcast. Why would you do that? It's almost cool, you've bettered yourselves, but it almost just comes across why are you trashing your own shit? And then not only that, but you forget him being champion 6 years from then. They're about to lose in the ratings a year later and just get their asses handed to them, which is even worse, that the Huckster and the Nacho Man are, beating them in the ratings.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a crazy time, especially in hindsight, because this is right before the NWO. This is right before Austin 316. And this is I don't know. I mean, it's like, I guess on the up ramp to being a little bit better. This is definitely better than WrestleMania 11. I mean, would you agree or disagree?
I mean, WrestleMania 11. I mean, the main event of LT. I would take LT versus Bam Bam over Shawn versus Bret any day.
Okay.
I'm being very sarcastic. I hope everybody knows that, whether you
I
can
was
see me
giving
or
it-
not.
I mean, Bam Bam. Did you not like Bam Bam and LT?
I did actually secretly. It's like a one of my favorite matches that wasn't supposed to be good, but it was, and I
It
think
was the
that's
best match of
because
the card.
I think so,
thought.
and I
Yeah.
think and remember, Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler, and I think it definitely was better than Shawn versus Diesel. But I think that's because Mongo was involved. You know, Mongo, baby, Mongo was in there, baby. You know,
Did he have his dog? What was his dog's name? Pepe, or so? That's Chavo's dog.
wow.
What was Mongo's dog's name? Or did he have a name?
Let's just say Chavo for the sake of it.
Chavo. Okay.
Mongo had a dog named Chavo, and Chavo had a dog named Pepe, a horse
Wow.
named Pepe. And we'll just keep it going down the line.
This is the new Dudley family tree. Well, I'm really learning a lot here.
Yeah, sidebar. My daughter's
Please.
been getting into wrestling since the last time I've been on this podcast. And so she just recently watched all the TLC matches, right? So she's just getting into that.
Oh, wow.
And she's asking, I'm saying, oh, they're brothers, right? And she gives me this look because she doesn't understand, when the Dudleys come out, and she's like, they're brothers. They're brothers. And I literally just go, same dad, different mom.
One was left in the oven a little too long.
Right? I didn't know how to explain it to her without just sounding weird.
Well, Mama Dudley was a whore, dear, you see. And
Papa Dudley, Big Daddy Dudley,
or Papa
was the
Dudley.
whore.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Big Daddy Dudley was going around Dudleyville, just impregnating all the Dudley women.
Man, Alabama, other places, wherever Devon was from.
Dances with Dudley. I don't know, whatever the
Yeah,
hell he went.
Mexico, right? Yeah. So it's well, speaking of getting impregnated in Mexico, WrestleMania 12 is the show we're covering today. And
good transition.
Thanks, man. My transitions are fire. But WrestleMania 12, we were comparing it to WrestleMania 11. Like overall, where does WrestleMania 12 rank for you in terms of WrestleManias?
You know, that would have been an easier question to answer many years ago, but there's so many freaking WrestleManias now.
Dude, the last 10 blur together for me.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So it's I don't want to say it's
bottom half, top half.
Bottom half, I would say, because we've gotten so much better just in terms of WrestleManias.
Yeah.
There was a time it would have been in the top half, which is crazy.
It's there's a few things on this show that are good, but it's not a complete show. I mean, because the main event being an hour, that obviously it takes a lot of the show. And we'll talk about that when we get to it, but there's just not a lot of other elements to it.
I also think it's also the reason it gets lower is not even just because there's been more WrestleManias. It's just it gets lost to time. Certain jokes, certain feels for matches, just certain things that happen on this show, which we'll obviously cover. It gets lost to time because if you don't see it through 1996 eyes, you kind of see it through our eyes from today in 2023. It's just not as good.
No. I mean, there is some good stuff here. There's some really revolutionary stuff, really, in the grand scope of things. But
Jose Lothario, right?
Yeah, of course. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. But hey, did you ever get a chance? I don't know if this is I guess if you ordered the pay-per-view in real time. Did you ever see the World Tag Team Title Tournament on the free-for-all?
So
the finals of it?
I lived in New York, and let's just say cable was not exactly legal in a lot of parts of New York. We all had boxes, so I've seen every free-for-all, every whatever. Do I remember half of them? No. But did I watch them live? Yeah, I had the TV Guide channel, and I would watch that part and then watch it on the actual channel, and
You don't remember a pre-show tag team match with the Godwins and the Body Donnas from almost 30 years ago?
I do not. In fact, I would say that there's probably one of those traumatic memories that I've blocked out by now.
Yeah, that's
the only skip I like is peanut butter at this point.
Hold on,
and even that's questionable because I have Jiffy in my cabinet.
Yeah,
we've upgraded on this show. I
oh
see.
man, high budget.
The vanity lights as well behind you.
How do I stop this? I think I still want to play through. I don't know how to.
You're clapping for that bottle of Geritol I took before the match, brother.
There we go. There we go. Easy now. Don't pop up blood vessel there, Huckster. But man, for opening match here, WrestleMania 12. First of all, we're in Anaheim, California. What are your thoughts on Anaheim there, Kenneth? Big Angels fan?
No thoughts. I was going to say, no thoughts besides that I know that WrestleMania 12 and WrestleMania 2000 were held there.
Wow, that's actually about 2000. I didn't even wouldn't have caught that. Look at you. Look at you.
I do not remember WrestleMania 1099, 999, but yeah.
Fuck off. So we got a 6-man tag team match to kick us off here. We got the team of Ahmed Johnson, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Yokozuna versus the team of Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Vader. And just reading off these names, it's just a hilarious like group of people wrestling each other. It's go ahead.
You know what's sad is like on paper that should be a good match.
You know what? To me, this kind of over delivered. I thought, given
we might have differing opinions on this one. Maybe I was looking at it through critical eyes.
Given, I mean, so. Maybe I'm taking hindsight into account a little bit here because I know Vader's run in WWF wasn't very stellar. Yokozuna, obviously, towards the tail end of his run. I mean, Jake Roberts is here. You know, he's battling all sorts of stuff. And then you got stupid, wet Ahmed Johnson in there bumbling around. You pretty much just got Owen Hart just tying everything together. He's
bumping himself.
But legitimately, just the greasy Ahmed Johnson. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell you the eyes I'm looking at it for. Again, just to give, anyone listening to this options, I guess. So Vader had just debuted in the WWF 2 months before.
Correct.
So he should have been hot coming into this. And he wasn't. Ahmed was kind of being pegged as the guy. And he still was kind of being given like he might have been the first black WWF champion the way he was going. Right? Now, So again, we didn't know how terrible bluntly he was or egotistical and all those things. We didn't know. He just had an upside that Vince McMahon liked the guy and wanted to give him push him to the moon. Yokozuna is coming 2 years out of wrestling in the main event as going in as the WWF champion, no less. Jake the Snake, I mean, had just come back, I think at the Rumble too.
Yep.
And this is his second run. He's got the whole, revelations as the Snake and everything. Owen and Bulldog are pretty much in their prime. Yeah. That's when I look at it and I go, why was this match so terrible when it had all the makings of being match of the night because you had so many, but I guess that's the problem. You get too much talent in there sometimes. Kind of like me, you and a podcast together, brother.
Right.
Just too much talent.
Cooks. Too many just delicious cooks in the kitchen. Just,
right.
Can only have so many fillets. That's our new podcast name, by the way. Offshoot. It's we know it was Racist Chops before.
Racist Chops, but now it's slices of fillet. What would you say?
Delicious fillets. I actually don't hate that. We'll talk offline about that.
Over some meat.
Wieners.
Meat on the table. Yeah, that's what you are.
Is that
shout out
Ryback's
to any
song?
Ryback fan? Yeah, shout out to any Ryback fan that exists.
The fact that I did it, I don't know why I knew that. But who do you think would win in a fight, Ryback or Ahmed Johnson?
It would depend, right? Because if Ryback was just fighting and he was just stupid, he could get Ahmed. But if Ahmed just came back and started saying, just make sure that you did that face and you coming at me, and that just confused him.
Right.
Ryback's not a smart guy. I think Ahmed. So ultimately, I think Ahmed.
Are you suggesting that Ahmed is?
I'm thinking that one, Ahmed would confuse him, and then two, he's wet. He's just slippery.
He is.
Ryback could get a hold of him. So I'm thinking Ahmed.
That's a good question.
Plus, I'm secretly an Ahmed fan because I used to play a game. No joke. I had a friend and we would play a game here. It was
Mhm.
called How Quickly Could You See Ahmed Johnson's Butt Cheeks in a Match? Am I wrong though?
You know, I didn't really note his butt cheeks in this match. I don't know if they ever made an appearance, did they?
I think this is the one time, I think WrestleMania, he was like, just make sure that my ass don't make an appearance in this match. Like, I think it's the first time that he insisted to wear trunks that were his size. Because before, I don't know what thong store he be shopping at.
Mm.
But Ahmed got cake.
I mean, there's no denying that. There's no denying that. I mean, he's no Yokozuna. But, sorry, I'm just thinking of Yokozuna.
No, that's not a cake, that's a whole bakery.
Oh, ho, ho.
Oh.
What's a Japanese pastry? I couldn't think of one. Do they have pastries over there?
Why are you asking me?
Chinese donut, right? He's a big bakery of Chinese donut. He's Japanese. Well, he's not Japanese.
Right, I was just going to say, not only do you have a Samoan playing a Japanese person, but you're assuming a Chinese pastry on the man.
So we got Yoko's cocksucker, not my speak over. We got Yokozuna, the Chinese donut here. And so initially, this was going to be a one-on-one match between Yokozuna and Vader. But for a variety of reasons, that never happened. So they made this a 6-man to add some people that could move around, I guess, and create a cohesive match, I guess. Yeah. Vader, well, Yoko, I mean, he's fucking 700 pounds at this point, so his cardio is what it is.
Good
he can still move though when he needs to, but it's not for a long period of time.
It was bad, man. It was bad. I actually was thinking about it because like I never really paid attention to it until like I rewatched it here, and I was like, man, like 2 years before he's main eventing and moving like amazingly. In literally the span of 2 years, 24 months, he can barely move in the ring. And it was like, it was sad to see, like all jokes aside, it was really sad to see the kind of state he was in, and the fact that like I didn't know why they had to put it, as a 6-man. And it makes complete sense because him and Vader and Yoko had like a interaction, I think, at the Rumble. So I think that would have made sense to be a one-on-one match, and it could have been a hell of a match if this was 1993 and they both were in their primes.
Yeah, and on top of that, Vader's just coming off a shoulder surgery. So they did the whole angle where he took out Gorilla Monsoon right after he debuted, and they suspended Vader. But this is because he had to go get surgery, and he's like just coming off of that. So it would just have been a disaster by all accounts. But,
right, and Jake the Snake Roberts, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his run isn't too long at this point. I mean, I know he goes to King of the Ring, but I don't think he does much acting.
Wait, what happened in King of the Ring?
Well, he said something about his Psalms and something about John 3:16. I forget the rest, but something or another.
Something.
Do you think Vader, in hindsight, do you think it was a bad idea pairing Vader and Yokozuna together, given how much bigger Yokozuna is than Vader? Like, I feel like you lose the mystique of Vader when you see how small he is in comparison.
No, only because I remember that big Van Vader run and what it would have been. Again, if we're talking prime guys, right? Vader would have been able to been that one guy to F up Yoko with some fists in the corner and like really kind of move. Because remember, his whole thing was like, I don't want to say like a Keith Lee where he could move for a big guy. But Vader's whole thing was like he could moonsault, he could do these things. I think it would have been like, probably a fair comparison would have been like Bam Bam Bigelow versus like a Yokozuna, where it's kind of like, here's a guy that could like actually move versus Yoko, who really is the super heavyweight. So I think the goal probably would have been like, oh, the two, no pun intended, but the two mastodons like button heads, and it would have made Vader look like a stellar athlete that could go with ding, 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 Shawn Michaels. Right. So I think maybe the goal was to get him like to show that, oh, he's not just a big guy, he can hang. And then when they get him in with a guy like Shawn Michaels, there would have been more intrigue.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially if Vader would have gotten a victory over Yokozuna, I think that would have elevated his stock a lot right out the gate.
Right. But, right out the gate. You beat the guy that's like dominating the WWF, main eventing WrestleMania, went with Bret Hart, took him to the limit. Like, it would have done a lot for Vader. So I think Vader got, shot himself in the foot or maybe in the shoulder, right away.
Yeah. He shot himself with Shawn Michaels' boot to the head when he botched a spot. But
yeah, I fucked up. Sorry.
Well, Vader does get the win here, but not over Yokozuna, over Jake the Snake Roberts with the Vader bomb. And you got a problem with Jake the Snake Roberts?
I think it's just like rolling up your dead, rolling up your drunk uncle. Like no one's impressed.
Shoving your grandpa over in his wheelchair, pinning him.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
hey man, Jake was. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of prime Jake the Snake Roberts, so maybe I don't have a lot of reference, but he was moving in there pretty well. I mean, the DDT is still super over. I loved how they like built to it the entire match, and then he finally hit it on Owen. It got a huge pop and tried to do it to Jim Cornette, who was ringside, but got, that didn't happen, and he ended up losing.
Goddamn hell, don't hit me with the DDT.
Do you think, is that what he said? I couldn't hear it when I was watching the show, but...
Well, they were calling for the DDT. I was like trying to do a Jake the Snake Roberts impression the whole time, but I was like, I couldn't figure out where to put it,
Your throat is going to be shredded by the end of this. We're only in the first match, and we've already heard like 10 different impressions. What do you think AJ Styles thought of this match?
I mean, I was sitting at home watching it. I mean, I thought Vader's a big guy, and I could take him on.
Yeah, that's great insight. What were you saying about your throat?
I was just going to say, you're not the first guy that telling me I'm going to rip my throat to shreds after this. But...
All right.
That's going to get me every time.
But any other diddles on this match?
No, this is the match I almost wanted to not talk about. I was so disappointed in it.
I mean, I thought it had its moments, but yeah, given like the magnitude of who's involved, I could see it being disappointing.
Like, what the hell did the Bulldog do? Bulldog's was one of my favorites of the early 90s. I can't think of a single thing he really did in that match.
Dude, Bulldog,
which is bizarre.
Oh man, he had an awesome match with Bret at In Your House 5, I believe it was, right? 5.
Yeah.
But everything else he did in this era was dog shit.
That's what I mean, right? And that's what I mean. And it's like, and then like Vader gets the win, so the British Bulldog wins whether he wants to or not. And he did anyone get that? I hope someone got that. But
wait,
do you not know what that is?
Wait, hold on, repeat.
So at Wembley Stadium, they interview this little girl. They're cutting around. It's a video package thing. And long story short, they cut to this little girl and she goes, "The British Bulldog's gonna win whether he wants to or not."
I like it.
And so,
big fan.
Search it on YouTube right after this episode.
I'm not gonna do that. But boy, up next. The reason you probably wanted to skip that first match is probably because you wanted to get to this. The Hollywood Backlot Brawl, Roddy Piper versus Goldust. Man, I don't even know where to fucking begin with this. I mean,
I got nothing but good things to say about this match, to be honest with you.
Well, we should say, I mean, initially it was going to be a Miami street fight, but old Razor got suspended for failing a drug test. Allegedly, also stories of him not wanting to work with
Goldust. What I heard, yeah,
could have been both, but they ended up slotting in. Yeah,
you want me to work with Goldust? How about I just pop this bill, man? I think if I was Razor, if I really didn't want to work for Goldust, that's what I would have done.
Yeah, I mean,
hey Shawn, give me one of them shits.
Them shits. Is Razor here?
Hey, but all what's that?
I said, is Razor here? Man,
I said, all jokes aside, it's been a year since we lost Scott Hall as of this recording. So
yes,
God rest his soul, man. He's one of those guys that should have been a world champion. So just shout out to him,
dude. Fucking awesome. I always say it because this is like before my time. But if I was watching during this time, he definitely would have been my favorite wrestler. He's just so cool.
Just too cool.
So cool. Yeah.
Like, see, it's the word. Like, nobody doesn't just look at Scott Hall and go like, "Oh, he's cool."
Yeah. I wish I had that chest hair, to be honest.
I do, but I shave it off.
Man, you had that gift and you just throw it in the trash?
Man. Yeah, man. I just use it from my seat covers in my car. It custom just for Razor.
Is the car a gold Cadillac?
It is. How'd you know?
Oh, that's real crazy coincidence because Goldust also has a gold Cadillac here. He, well, I guess first of all, we should so the build to this match. So Razor's out, Roddy's in. Roddy Piper is the storyline president of the WWF at this point.
Yes.
And I guess what the backstory is basically that Roddy, because they're like two actors, I guess, or Roddy's a legitimate actor and Goldust isn't. So Roddy's like, hey, I haven't never seen you on a movie set. I'm gonna make a man out of you, you fruitcake, I believe is what he says later.
Yeah, and remember for context, I think context is really important. That like there was a lot of like, I mean, I'll just say it bluntly, I guess homophobia at the time. It's not accepting as it was at the time, like today. So the whole character of Goldust was literally just that, like he was this androgynous, you know, kind of like preying on the fears of other men who were homophobes. And I mean, again, the rumor is Razor didn't want to work with him for real because of the storyline. And Goldust is saying some not so, or some blatantly suggestive things to Roddy Piper, which is what kind of leads Piper to go, you want a match, fruitcake? I'll give it to you. You know, like,
I mean, there's no subtlety to the Goldust character at this point. I mean, he's playing Roddy's bagpipe. He's oh yeah, and then they're cutting a promo in the ring, and he's like on his knees, like if this is Piper's cock, he's like, meet me in my backlot, you know, like his asshole. So that's
that's what backlot means.
That's how I usually use it in my daily life. I don't know about you.
Well, we should use it together, but anyway,
there we go.
Yeah. So I mean, the Goldust character, I think, because a lot of people didn't watch it at the time with those eyes, I don't think it'll ever get enough credit for being just as revolutionary as it was. Because remember, it was a bad guy knowing that these people were homophobic and using that as like, that's why they would say psychological mind games. I'm not saying it would work today. I'm not even endorsing it today. I'm just saying in 1996 eyes, that was revolutionary.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm watching all the WCW and ECW stuff along with this, and they reference Goldust all the time. Like, it's making waves across not just wrestling, but just in like pop culture in general. It's like, because I mean, I feel like this kind of kickstarted the Attitude Era in a way, because this is like really pushing the envelope in an era where everything was so cookie cutter and just colors and whatever the hell. So, but a little, so we got a Hollywood Backlot Brawl here. And so it cuts to Roddy, who's in this backlot, I guess. He's holding a bat, and then a gold Cadillac pulls up, and Goldust gets out of it, and then they start scuffling. Roddy pretty much kicks the shit out of Goldust for the most of it. He throws him into all the dumpsters that are in this alleyway. He's smashing his head on the car hood. I think at one point Goldust tries to run away, but Roddy takes his bat and smashes the window, and there's blood everywhere. And I mean, this is like there's a running thread throughout the entire show. But what do you think of this like introduction to this match? I guess
that's what I liked. I liked that it was a running thing throughout the show. I liked how it ended up. You know, obviously we'll talk about it. I'm assuming you're doing it in order here.
Oh yeah,
but I loved it. I loved the whole concept. And it was very physical. I think, is it in this first half that Roddy breaks his hand?
Like, did he break his hand? I know it was bleeding at some point.
Okay. So when he's on the windshield, there's a scene where he's on the windshield and Piper rears back and he just hits him straight in the forehead. There's a loud cracking sound. That is literally Roddy Piper's hand legitimately breaking. That's how hard he hit him in the forehead. There was nothing there was no gusto to this. There was no pun intended, no Hollywood magic here. They were so up close with these shots and everything that they were going for him. And then I think is this when he goes to run him over and Roddy legitimately gets run over, because I think they had said in later interviews Roddy was supposed to like move and he didn't. So Goldust legitimately just hits him with the car.
Really?
Roddy Piper's my hero for this match because it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he straight up, he gets his knees hit by a car and just rolls over the hood, and then Goldust drives away, and then Roddy happens to stumble upon a white Bronco. That's also I don't know if that's his Bronco or if he just did a little Grand Theft Auto action. Borrowed it, right. And gives chase to Goldust in a white Bronco. So, yeah. Seems familiar.
I mean, right. I was going to say, and anyone who's a little bit too young to understand what the haha was, I mean, to make a long story short, O.J. Simpson, and this is the not funny part, but he
great football player.
Hold on.
Huh?
Allegedly killed his wife. I have to say allegedly because of but what they're referencing is the famous chase that OJ and his white Bronco, and there's a helicopter shot where they're filming him on the freeway in California, and he's going, and all the cops behind him, and they basically recreate it. So I hear there was a rumor, by the way, they were trying to actually get OJ Simpson at WrestleMania 12.
Yeah, I did read that.
Did you hear that one as well? Okay.
I mean, just like recently, I was like looking some stuff up about this, and I stumbled upon that. I was like, God, that would have been insane. Like right after it.
Terrible.
Yeah. Do you follow OJ on Twitter by any chance?
I do, because it's like the weirdest timeline.
It's fascinating.
Hi, this is the Juice, and I'm playing golf. And it's like he still thinks he's like, he still thinks he's like the motivational speaker football player. When it's like, my dude, at this point, we all know you killed your wife, you got away with it. Just lay low.
Nope.
Lay low.
He's out there writing books. If I did it, well, what was it called? It's like, if I did it, this is how I do it, or something.
It was called If I Did It. And then I think the family of the departed sued. And then they got the rights to the book, and it got renamed I Did It, Confessions of a Killer.
Oh, well, hey, man, I respect OJ for getting out there, trying stuff, giving other hobbies a stab at it. So, but we have this next match here, and because he stabbed his wife. He stabbed his wife.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
You might say he's a stone cold killer, allegedly. But speaking of which, we got Steve Austin in this next match versus Savio Vega. Man,
these two fought every other day for the better part of like 4 years.
Ew, why?
It's how I feel. Like every show that I look at, it's Stone Cold versus Savio Vega, including my favorite show, which is In Your House, Beware of Dog 2.
You're not a Beware of Dog 1 guy. Wait, so
no.
The light went out, right, or something? Or like,
so yeah, there was a storm, the lights went out, and they basically had to wrestle in the dark. And then 2 was just they refilmed it like on a Tuesday randomly.
Oh, so it was just a redo. I thought it was like the continuation of 1.
No, they literally just did the same match.
Well, you can never have too much Savio Vega versus Steve Austin, I guess. Not the ringmaster anymore.
No, you can. And this was it for me.
It's insane in hindsight seeing Steve Austin in a throwaway second or third match of the show as really just a backdrop for more of the Roddy Piper and Goldust shenanigans.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's freshly debuted. He's been in the company for 3 months or so. He's just shed the ringmaster gimmick like a few weeks ago. But he's still with Ted DiBiase. He's still the $1 Million champion, still doing all that, but he's freshly shaven. He looks like Stone Cold.
Right. I think that's what's jarring about it, is that he looks like prime Stone Cold, yet he's not there yet. And I also think that like hindsight or context is important, because I think he was supposed to have a good showing in the '96 Rumble and like be on the up and up. And then he slips out of the ring and gets eliminated. He's supposed to be in like the final 4. He accidentally eliminates himself in the '96 Rumble by like Fatu instead of holding on. And so maybe I don't want to say he was being punished, but like maybe he would have had a better match at WrestleMania had he had a better showing at the Rumble.
I mean, the fact that he's on the card at all. I mean, there's 4 matches on this card, so
that's true. That is very true.
But yeah, so
he could have been in the Yoko Vader match.
He could have been, but don't worry, we got that next year, right? Doesn't Stone Cold face Yokozuna in like a pre-show match?
at WrestleMania 13 when he fought Bret Hart in his like most famous match.
Is that 13?
That is 13, sir.
Oh, I was thinking it was 14. When did he face Yokozuna in a pre-show match? I know that happened at some point. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I just dreamed it.
No. I know you're right. I don't think it was like a WrestleMania right there. I think it was in the year 96.
You know what? We have the Google
out.
machine. I need to know this. Stone Cold.
One time, I'll just talk in the meantime. One time, Yokozuna slammed me in the middle of the match. I shit in my pants. You think that I stopped?
SummerSlam.
True story, by the way.
SummerSlam 96. Yeah, I'm aware. Who else shit their pants at wrestling? CM Punk did, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time you shit your pants?
Probably yesterday.
Oh, how'd that go?
Yeah. Left a skid mark on my life. Yeah.
You got a little Art Donovan in there. It was peeking out.
What's this shit in my underwear? Or Donovan, that's your lunch.
We'll never have one episode without Art Donovan.
You brought him up. I'd forgotten about Art Donovan.
It was coming out of you. It was bubbling. You were brimming with Art Donovan.
Subconsciously, baby. I had no idea Art Donovan was in there.
He's always lurking. But speaking of Art Donovan shitting his pants, we got Savio Vega versus Steve Austin here. And the match is fine, I guess. The crowd couldn't give a single solitary shit about this match. And so during the match, Roddy Piper calls into the commentary table, which is the visual is just hilarious. He's like just chasing Goldust and his Bronco. He's like, let me give Jerry Lawler a ring-a-ding. Let him know my whereabouts. And he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna get gold. I'm gonna make a man out of this fruitcake.
I'm gonna kill this son of a bitch. And it's like they lose the call and they have to get him back. So it's even worse because they take more time away from the match.
It's hard to pay attention to Steve Austin, having Savio in a headlock while all this is happening, I guess.
Right, especially after the fire promo Savio Vega cut before the match.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Oh God, Steve Austin, I'm gonna get you. It's like I never understood the cadences with Savio Vega, but he was what he was.
He sure was.
I do it for Puerto Rico. It's like, hold on, Savio, just calm down.
Calm down.
Right, like you saved Razor, you got a job, well, you're good. You don't gotta be so angry now.
Look, man, he's a fiery Puerto Rican. The what they call him? The Legend of the Caribbean, Savio Vega. He's got a lot of piss and vinegar to him.
I do not even remember that nickname, so that's news to me.
I might have just made it up. I do like the finish kind of this match. Well, I like parts of it. So Savio hits the ref with a spin kick as Steve Austin gets out of the way. The ref is just annihilated. You couldn't have a more dead person than this ref after that spin kick. Steve Austin, with the ref down, gets his $1 million championship, clocks Savio with it, and then drapes Savio over the apron and then comes off the apron down with another belt shot, which I thought looked pretty sick. And then essentially just knocks Savio out and then locks on. I don't even think he put on the $1 million dream. I think it was just like a chokehold or a sleeper hold. And the ref comes to. Ted DiBiase wakes up the ref with water, and then the ref goes over. He's like, "Oh, you're dead, Savio. I guess this guy wins." So Stone Cold wins, and then we get some more OJ. But yeah, any other thoughts?
Some more OJ. No, this is one of those where it's like, Stone Cold could have gone one way or the other. To make a long story short, he was a good hand in the ring, but you could see that I don't know, if he was just a good worker and didn't develop his character, he could have just stayed at that level. But he didn't become popular till he really developed that character and really started getting good on the mic and really start just being a brawler, you know? So, I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's just funny seeing him look like main eventer Stone Cold, but be in this throwaway match.
I mean, it's in him because, I watched the ECW shows that he was on when he was squaring up with Sandman and stuff. It was like, God, this is the exact Stone Cold character. It's just with long hair, and now he's here. So it's in him. It's a matter of giving him a platform to show it, which he will get, I guess. He'll have himself.
It was all right. His run was all right.
He had a handsome little career, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe not a perfect career, but speaking of which, we got Mr. Perfect backstage doing the old announcer deal. He's backstage with Diesel, and Perfect is he's kind of throwing the clips, kind of recapping the build to the later match, Undertaker versus Diesel. Shows the in your house match, the cage match, where Undertaker came out from the floor and ripped Diesel to the pits of hell. And we got on Raw a few weeks later where Diesel, he opens a casket and sees himself in the casket.
Great. Amazing, by the way. Scared the crap out of me as a child. I was 6 years old, or no, 7 years old when all this happened, right? So,
right.
Oh my God. I'm like, how'd they do that? Only recently did I find out what actually happened.
Was it just a pre-tape? I'm
correct. Like they used like a body double or whatever, but then every time they cut to the close-ups, right. They did a pre-tape of Kevin Nash in there. So I was just like, this doll looks so lifelike.
But Kevin or Diesel's he's fine, he's chill. He's like, hey, Undertaker, Big Daddy is gonna take the cool of you. Which I don't know what that means, but that's what he said. And he says, then Shawn, you're next. So building into a future match with Shawn already here, but
can I note that I don't know if you noticed it. I'm pretty sure Kevin Nash or Diesel, was drunk during this promo. Because his eyes were not like, I don't know what he like to me when he was talking and he was saying, I'm gonna take the cool out of you. It was like a little bit more than that Big Daddy cool suave. It was just more like Lost in La La Land. Like, because correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this his like final match? Like maybe televised match?
So he has a match with Shawn Michaels, I believe, at the next In Your House. But I think that's
okay.
His last match.
Yeah. Obviously with Mad Dog for Shawn and stuff. Like that's ingrained in my mind. Trust me. Like because he rips Mad Dog's leg off and hits like Shawn with it, or Shawn does that to Diesel. Sorry. Right. But anyway, So I don't know. Like I guess my thing was like, was he phoning it in at this time? Was he just kind of like out there? Like he's already thinking.
Well, he'd already given his notice at this point,
right?
So
yeah, exactly. So it's like he looks like he probably was just like a couple brewskis in. He's like, I'm just gonna wrestle the Undertaker, like.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of his gimmick at this point because he's kind of in between Diesel and Kevin Nash at this point. Like he has more of a egotistical edge to him. So
right.
It could just be him playing up his character, but it also, I mean, because I don't think he was wrestling drunk. I mean, I guess he could have been. Who knows? But it's not like he was doing springboard hurricanranas or anything. But
right.
So I don't know. But I don't know. I do love this incarnation of Kevin Nash, whatever you want to call him. I think is like very like
the heel one. Yeah.
It like had his personality, but like the presence of Diesel. I thought that combination was pretty. I mean, I run on Diesel power, so.
Me too. And there's a lot of adrenaline in my soul recently.
That's where the blonde hair comes from.
Yes, it is. My daughter's favorite wrestler is Cody Rhodes, by the way, so she is not hating. Yeah, she's not hating this hairstyle. But yeah, so no, Kevin Nash, I agree with you. I think hindsight being 2020, if he had not gone on to WCW, I think this is the Kevin Nash, the Diesel, that would have been like the staple of his career. You know what I mean? Like, let's say the NWO stuff didn't happen, whatever. He just stayed in the WWF. I think he found his niche with this character. Just being like the way he was, like no pun intended, but just being so cool, so suave, so, just not caring, and just it, like he became a legend. I don't know how else to say it. It's like he found his groove.
Do you think if he wasn't going to WCW already at this point, do you think he would have beat The Undertaker?
You know what? Yes, I do, because at their trajectories at the time, Diesel had already been WWF champion. He was that guy that would take, Vince loved Kevin Nash, right? I don't think I would say there's a 99.9% chance, especially with the way the Undertaker was going at the time. If you put him up against a prime Kevin Nash, a prime Diesel, I don't think we get the streak because I think Kevin Nash would have won that year.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, and then you don't get the NWO probably, or it's at the very most very altered. It's like crazy how many things would have changed had he just stayed for like another year.
Right. Just imagine like Mabel and Scott Hall showing up.
Or even if it was like Sting or whatever, you know, it would have been like almost as good, but not as good.
But then wrestling as a whole would have suffered because the WWF wouldn't have had to responded. So I think, you know, things happen the way it was supposed to, because I can't imagine a world where like it's any better than how it happened.
Right. But that's an ultimate take to have. But speaking of which, we got the return of the Ultimate Warrior to the WWF, taking on
showed up.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Yes.
I was going to say, rumor is that he was going to be bald and 400 pounds, I hear.
That was the rumor. That was the scuttlebutt on the street, according to Jerry Lawler. But he's just eating Cheetos. He had let himself go, and then he comes back, and he's the same, pretty much. Wasn't there a rumor? I don't know when it was that like he died and somebody else took his spot.
That was 92. So the reason that started, right, was because he had got suspended in 91 for his whole thing. Whatever, he got suspended. There was a whole steroid scandal. He had, I guess, bluntly gotten off the juice, right, and gotten a little smaller. So when he came back with the little, what do you call it? Not the leotard, but like what Kurt Angle wears, basically.
Singlet.
The singlet. Thank you. So he came back with the singlet, and a little bit smaller at WrestleMania 8, and his hair cut all differently, and blonder. They basically were like, oh, the original Ultimate Warrior died, and this is the new guy.
Right.
It's stupid. Remember, there's no internet back then, so.
I still think that about Avril Lavigne, though, but that's a different podcast in itself.
I mean, they're both hot, whoever they are.
The dead one and the alive one. You would,
right.
Well, anyways, so I had another thought. I'm just going to keep in the old noggin. But we got Triple H coming out here with Sable on his arm, the debuting Sable. And we'll see why later in the show. But he's the one he drew this short straw here facing Ultimate Warrior in his return match. Right. Gee willikers. I don't even know. So the match, it's a 40-second match, whatever it is. Warrior gets pedigreed, no sells it. Warrior hits his stupid fucking shoulder blocks and his military press and his splash and squashes Hunter Hearst Helmsley and is on steroids, I'm assuming. So thoughts?
Look, I was a kid. I was a big Warrior fan at that. I loved it. Absolutely loved the match. I hated Hunter Hearst Helmsley. You know what I mean? So this was exactly what I wanted to see, and why you paid to see the Warrior. So I think they did it right. But like, you know, it's the fact that we're looking at it with hindsight. It's so funny to see that he squashed Triple H, like, and what Triple H would go on to become. You know, but yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is the debuting Sable. Again, at the time, it's like you don't know who this beautiful blonde woman is, and she just comes out on the, because remember, for context, Hunter Hearst Helmsley had a beautiful woman on his arm every single week, and so this was quote unquote just another one of those beautiful escorting women, or another escorts to the ring.
Wow,
I didn't want to say escort, but you know, the one of the women escorting him to the ring, and you didn't think anything of it, in other words, until later.
Yeah, because this is my first time watching this show, so I see Triple H come out with this dame on his arm. I'm like, is that fucking Sable? Or they say it. Vince McMahon says it eventually.
Her name is Sable, which again, if you really think about it, the name makes sense. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the pedigree, Greenwich, Connecticut, comes out with Sable. Like there's continuity there.
What does Sable mean?
Like, isn't Sable like a classy, like elegant dog or something?
I think you're thinking of Stable. Hold on.
No, that's a horse.
Don't talk about Sable that way. So we
Right.
got
A mark
Sable.
with a short tail and dark brown fur, native to Japan. Yeah, it's like
What the hell? A marten. It's like a fucking
looks like
a
a mink or
ferret.
something.
Or
Yeah.
like a possum, perhaps.
Right, something like that.
So she's a possum.
But I guess
Weird.
it was in a reference to like sable fur, like the finer things. That's
I see what you're
right.
saying. So she's one in the bird, two in the bush. That's what you're saying, or whatever that.
If I
saying
say yes, can we move on?
is. Well, we got to move on because we got to talk about the Wild Man, Mark Mero, making his debut in the World Wrestling Federation right after that match, and he's cutting a promo. He's with Todd Pettengill backstage.
Well, can I give context? Because I guess you weren't watching at this time, right?
Sure,
He was pretty popular at the time in WCW's Johnny B.
Oh
Bad.
yeah, of course.
So
yeah.
watching at that time, it was just like, holy crap, Johnny B. Bad's on friggin' WWF TV.
So you were watching at this time, right?
Yes, yeah,
Were you watching WCW as well?
I was, yeah, and that's why I was so like shocked. I'm like, oh, holy crap! I looked my mom. I don't know why, but that was like her favorite wrestler, right? She just liked when he shot the confetti.
We all know why.
We all know why. It's the nipples. But so that was her favorite guy, and I'm like, Ma, I'm like calling her in.
The
I'm like,
meatloaf.
I'm like, Ma, the meatloaf. Fuck. Johnny B. Bad's on TV.
She's like, yeah, the meatloaf.
Right. I'm like, Johnny B. Bad's on TV, and then like not understanding gimmick changes because I think this was one of the first I saw that kind of like they jump and change names.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets introduced. He's like, I'm the Wild Man, Mark Mero, and I'm like, who
is this? Fucking Ernie?
Yeah. But his voice was crazy. Go listen to Mark Mero's voice. It wasn't exactly normal.
Oh yeah, no, it was. He was trying to get out of that Little Richard character into a normal person. The transition was a bit rough, I guess. Right. People aren't made to do that. But yeah, Johnny B. Bad. I mean, yeah, because I wasn't sure, like in the context, like was he perceived as a big star that like jumped over? But I guess he was.
He had some like. He at least was a popular enough guy that like he comes to WWF, you're like, whoa, like
he was a very distinct personality that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I could see that. And he's like, he doesn't have his bad blaster with him. He doesn't have his cape with him. He's like, wow, is this the same guy? But it surely is. It surely is. But he's cutting his promo backstage, and then Hunter Hearst Helmsley runs into him. He's all disheveled. He's flustered. He's flabbergasted of what just happened to him at the hands of the Ultimate Warrior. And then he's like, hey, watch it, pal. I'm walking here. Whatever he says. And
he's blaming Sable for like, it's your fault I lost to the Ultimate Warrior, which is ultimate heel to just blame the woman that I got my ass kicked because you were out there.
Which made me laugh because I don't know if Triple H was still doing the accent at this point, but he did not use it in this portion.
Nope,
he's
not
like,
at all.
Listen here, it's your fault. Like he's Triple H talking, not Hunter.
You were the reason I lost.
But yeah, so Mark and Hunter scuffle, and I assume leads to a match between them. So pretty big program for Mark Mero right out the gate. Triple H, even though he just got squashed, he was a pretty established guy at this point, fairly. So yeah.
Context. Remember, he was supposed to win the like '96 King of the Ring. Like his star was aligned to like be before the curtain call changed history. Again, one of those things that I think ended up better for it happening, because I can't imagine Hunter Hearst Helmsley winning the '96 King of the Ring and Austin not happening. But anyway, yeah, so Triple H was on the up and up. So I think, to me, that's to tell you what they thought of Wildman Mark Mero at the time, because they were feuding him with the guy that was about to be the next King of the Ring.
Right. Yeah, it all worked out. I mean, we could have had Helmsley 316, right? That could have been just as good.
Maybe.
Could have sold some t-shirts.
And then Stone Cold could have been in DX with Shawn Michaels.
Man, what a timeline. What a timeline.
What? I said chop my crotch. What? Suck it. What?
That's money. It's never too late. It's never too late to make that happen.
I think it is.
I mean, I think it's a relatively easy undertaking. But speaking of which, we got The Undertaker versus Diesel up next. And I guess we kind of talked about the build up to this match earlier, but I mean, I loved this build up. What were your thoughts on it?
These were two guys who, like, no matter what program they were in, I thought they did good with it, much less together. I just love the buildup of, like, Kevin Nash, or I keep calling him Kevin Nash, I apologize, but Diesel being the one guy that's like, I'm not scared of you. Like, I'm not scared of the mythical Undertaker and all that. And it's believable because he's a 7-foot monster as well. You know, but he's almost like, it's the juxtaposition of, like, they're so similar. They're like a similar build, but, like, Kevin Nash is the cool, good-looking guy, and then the Undertaker's scary monster, you know? I actually not only love the build to this match, I love the match itself. I thought they did an amazing job in the match for being two lumbering guys. Like, they could have just gone out there and big manned it, but they didn't. You know, they were, like, definitely the showing what was to come with bigger men at that time.
Undertaker opens this match up with a cross body on the Diesel. Right. So he was working as the small guy in this match. So yeah, to your point, I mean, they were going after it. It wasn't just bear hugs and knee strikes. They were doing some good shit out there. And given last year, Undertaker versus King Kong Bundy, which was just it was a throwaway out of throwaways. It was just nonsensical. But now we have a match where it feels like this is what WrestleMania matches should be. It should be two
exactly. Like, that's a great way to say it.
Two guys that could feasibly win, the unstoppable force, immovable object kind of thing. It's like two bona fide stars that each have a case to win this match, and let's watch it to see who wins, because I don't know who's going to win. Like that's kind of like this year with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Like, I feel like when you're built up to something like that, I think that's when it's at its best.
Right. I think this was maybe the match, you know, besides obviously the Iron Man, which was the marquee, but this is the dark horse match of WrestleMania 12, where it's just like, especially Nash, I don't think ever gets credit for being a good worker. And he was a lot better of a worker than people will ever give him credit for. And it's funny because I think there's a story that Kevin Nash, Undertaker, he'd done it like I want to say it was Mabel or something. He'd done like a sunset flip, and Undertaker got so pissed that as soon as Diesel came back, he grabbed him by the scruff and put him against the locker, and he said, "Don't you ever do an effing, sunset flip again, or I'm coming out there and stopping the match myself." Basically saying, like, you're doing too much. Like, slow it down. Stop doing that. And then he opens this match with a crossbody.
I mean, yeah, I guess it is what it is. But I mean, after that, Taker comes out with a flurry. He hits the old school pretty early, but then Diesel eventually takes control. He kind of beats on him for a bit. At one point, they both hit a big boot at the same time and knock each other out.
Yeah.
But eventually, Diesel hits the jackknife onto Undertaker effortlessly. Doesn't make the pin, though. It kind of just, I think he even like goes up to the hard camera. He's like, "I'm so good." Like, you can hear him like mouthing his, "Man, I'm so good." It was just
such
hilarious.
a good character such a good character at
just
the time.
Cocky asshole. Toys with him. He's just kind of like rubbing his boot against his face as Taker's down. And then Taker sits up, and then Diesel hits him with a second jackknife. Takes his time pinning him again. Gets down to pin him, gets goozled by Taker, and he fights him off. Diesel does. There's like 3 times he like fights him off, and then he grabs him again on the throat. Eventually, he works his way back up, but Diesel counters into a back suplex. Like, this is the most wrestling moves I've ever seen Diesel do in one match.
Right.
Taker sits up again, and then Diesel, he's like, at this point, realizes what he's dealing with. I kind of like how they did, like in the beginning of the match, Diesel was as cocky could be, and then it like built up to being like, "Oh shit, I'm fucked." And then Taker hits his flying clothesline, hits a choke slam, and then a tombstone, stiff looking tombstone. For the win. Made Diesel a couple inches shorter, I think. But I agree. I love this match.
Yeah, I love the shot. I think it's an iconic shot of Kevin Nash Diesel laid out, with the arms crossed, and you got the WrestleMania. This is because I think this is the only WrestleMania or one of the only ones that has the logo on the mat. And so there's like that aerial shot, and Kevin Nash, all 7 foot of Kevin Nash is just laid out.
He's taking up like 3/4 of the ring.
Right, 3/4 of the ring with that WrestleMania logo. And it's like, I think, like, when I think WrestleMania 12, obviously you think like Shawn's entrance, but I think that shot too, which is funny. So
it's awesome. And Diesel, I mean, shit. How many times did Diesel ever just lose by getting pinned in the middle of the ring?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, he got rolled up by Bret at Survivor Series, but other than that, I can't think of any other ones.
No, he was kept pretty strong. So
yeah. But well, we're almost at the main event. But before we get to that, we gotta tie up some loose ends, so to speak. We got Todd Pettengill backstage. He's viewing the monitors backstage. He sees some cars arrive, which I don't know if we mentioned this. Like they're kind of cutting back and forth to it throughout the show. I'm pretty sure they're just using the OJ footage. Like it's not like a recreation. I think it's literally just the footage
just
of the
OJ footage. Yeah.
Which is hilarious. But hey, the cars, I guess they drove from Anaheim or from Hollywood to Anaheim. They finally have made it. Both cars pull into a parking lot of sorts, I guess. The Bronco smashes into Goldust's Cadillac, and they both get out. They fight in the back. They fight all the way to the ring. It's a good thing they timed it right. It would have been awkward if they got there during the Taker Diesel match. But I have a note here that says Powerbomb Grope. Thoughts? Do you know what that's referring to?
I don't know why you have that as a note. And that's going to really, really bother me.
You know what I'm talking about, right? When Goldust was like going to Powerbomb or Pile Driver Roddy, and he's like grabbing his butt cheeks like over his back. Yeah. It's my analysis.
I tried to forget it, but yes, because it's not anything against, Goldust. It's more against, like, I don't really want to see Roddy Piper's butt cheeks.
As far as butt cheeks go, like Roddy Piper, 96 Roddy Piper, he's a handsome man.
He was still in shape. It's kind of crazy to think like the no disrespect, but like how he showed up in WCW 2 years later in 98 with the beer belly and stuff. Like he's pretty in shape here, actually. I think 94 Roddy Piper is like the most in shape I've ever seen him. And then here he's got a little bit of bulk on him. You know what I mean? Like it's the biggest I've ever seen Roddy Piper. Biggest in the sense of like jacked.
Yeah. No, he looks like a wrestler out there for sure.
Right. As opposed to them skinny girl legs. Like Bad News Brown calling, which, by the way, you can't even see that match because Roddy Piper decided to paint his body in half black face or whatever.
Whatever. But, well, what other notes did I take on this match? We have a mount. Goldust goes for a kiss. It's blocked. Then Roddy grabs Goldust's balls.
Is the Undertaker arriving at my house or something? Like, what the heck is going on with these legs?
Oh,
my Undertaker! Oh, beat up Goldust, please.
Well, don't they feud like soon after this with Mankind and like
that's what my lights are alluding to? Obviously,
right? Foreshadowing. I like it.
Right.
But foreshadowing with shadows, huh? So there's something there. We'll workshop it. Balls get assaulted all throughout this match, and then Roddy just strips Goldust of all his clothes and revealing his thong and his brawl, maybe. I don't know. He's covering his tits. And then Goldust saunters off. There's no, pinfalls. It's just a fight. So I guess it's at the end of the day, this is really just an evening gown match, I guess. Bra and panties,
was good
perhaps.
Stuff though at the time. Like at the time, it was like comedic relief that, like, again, context is important. Remember, it's a different time period. It's like it was like, oh, he's wearing women's clothing underneath. Oh, and then Roddy Piper strips him down and and beats the crap out of him, and it's funny. Again, we're looking through 1996 eyes, and it was just supposed to be funny. And Piper's the big hero,
Yeah, but to your earlier point, the fight like leading up to this, like on the car, like in the back lot. I mean, that was really raw stuff. I mean, that was brutal.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
ahead of its time for sure. So you had that brutality in the beginning, and then you had like the comedic relief all throughout the show, and then this ending. So overall, I think it was just an awesome. I mean, it was like I said, it was ahead of its time. You weren't seeing stuff like this anywhere else, really. So
No. Physicality yet comedic yet like
Yeah.
it delivered, it delivered, and it's just one of those matches because of the Goldust character and all that stuff. It's just and that's what I meant by WrestleMania 12 and the whole event kind of getting lost to time. It's like it won't seem as good as it seemed in 96.
Yeah, for sure.
But
man, that brings us to the old main event. About half the show here is for the WWF Championship. We got a 60-minute Iron Man match. The champion, Bret Hart, defending against Shawn Michaels. Man, so, I mean, my first thought, did you catch the Revolution Iron Man match between MJF and Bryan Danielson?
So unfortunately I did not. And that's actually haunting me right now because I want to watch that match because I heard such good things. It's such good things about it. And I've always actually been a fan of Iron Man matches because you have to be creative in them.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's worth your time for sure. And it's interesting to kind of go back and see, because I mean, this is the first time they did it, at least in WWF. I don't know if they did it in like Japan or some shit, but
well, I mean, 60-minute matches were not uncommon ever, but it's like in a televised setting,
right?
That it's just so different. It's so different. This is the first televised Iron Man match, WrestleMania, and it's like it's going to go 60 minutes. Which I remember at the time, I remember my dad and I pulling up some popcorn stuff, and it's like we knew we had some time, and it's like that was a weird feeling at the time to know that like, oh, like. You know this match is going to go on 60 minutes, like, so we got to sit here the whole time.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I mean we're coming out of an era where the main events of these type of shows where it was always like Hogan versus some giant. It was Yokozuna in the main event. It was some shit like that. Like LT versus Bam Bam. Like it was the pomp and circumstance of it all. Now we just have like the most raw wrestling that wrestling can get. It's literally just 60 minutes, no stipulation, or other than Iron Man, but no like other outside entities in play here. We just got two guys wrestling for an hour, so it's a testament to how the industry is changing, I guess, at this point. But I was watching this, I completely forgot about the zip line entrance. So
really,
Jose Lothario, the Shawn Michaels trainer, I guess, comes out. They play Shawn's music, and it's just Jose coming out. Like, where the hell's Shawn? And then like, oh, duh, it's the old zip line from the top. Oh, look at that ride! Ah, which is an
iconic shot for WrestleMania.
So like I've seen it in highlight clips and stuff like that, but watching it, like I'm sitting down, I'm watching the show, and I see this happen. It's like, man, that was fucking cool. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, especially it's like 96. You got to remember, it's not like the extravagant WrestleMania that we get today. So it's just like this guy ziplining from the top of the friggin' arena down into the crowd, into his clique, as he cleverly called them. He called his fans the clique.
All right.
But I think it's funny. I had a friend that we used to do like fake commentary, and I used to play like a Bobby Heenan type character, right? So I can't watch the Jose Lothario entrance without almost like popping for myself, which is egotistical. But like, I remember we were doing, this is recorded somewhere, but Jose Lothario comes out and I'm like, look at this. If this is the shape that Shawn Michaels is showing up in, he has no chance against Bret Hart. And like my friend's like muting his mic because he's laughing so hard. Like I definitely Bobby Heenan'd it. Like, it just acts stupid, but yeah.
That's the real Ultimate Warrior. He's not the one that was out of shape and balding. It was Shawn Michaels.
Was that the real Ultimate Warrior?
Is Jose Lothario Jim Hellwig? That's the question we all are looking for.
By the way, sidebar that I never thought about until years later. He had to play like a Latin lover type character, right? Because Lothario means what? Like that Latin lover kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, Los
right?
Lotharios,
So
right? That's
I thought, right, exactly. That was what made me think of it. And I went, oh my God, is that why Shawn Michaels played like the sexy boy type character? Like I thought about like
Okay.
all of this years later, because I was like, was it kind of like akin to his trainer playing like a ladies man type gimmick? Because I'm like, there's no way Jose Lothario would be named that if not for having a similar type gimmick.
Well, first of
And
all,
was Jose Lothario the Latin lover in the 97 Rumble?
possibly. I mean, I have his wiki up. It doesn't
All right.
say that. Although his real name is Guadalupe, which is fucking badass.
I love it.
It's it doesn't really the Great Lothario, El Gran Lothario, Super Sock, whatever that means. I got a super sock in my hamper right now, but yeah, so Lothario's out there, Shawn's out there, Bret's out there. Match gets underway, and man, it is a 10-minute headlock to open up this match, which is something that, because I'm fresh off of seeing that MJF Bryan Danielson Iron Man match, and the thing that struck me about that match is that like it didn't feel like it dragged. Like it felt like there was like a story being told throughout the thing. Like that match was like a story with a bunch of chapters. This felt like one long chapter almost, in a way, which they're different. And granted, this is the first time they're doing it, so it's not necessarily apples and apples. But it was just striking how much that this match type has changed over time. But yeah, really slow pace in the beginning. I mean, it's literally like Bret has Shawn in a headlock for 10 minutes, and then Shawn, he starts to kind of fire up a little bit. He does like a head scissors. He knocks Bret to the outside. At one point, Shawn, he like gets thrown over the top rope, but he skins the cat, but then he just rushes right back into an arm bar. But I think the slow pace though in the beginning, I think it made like every like big move, I think it like amplified everything. So I think there was like value to that in the beginning.
Especially in 96. I mean, I think they did a good job, because if I had to give like a, not a criticism to today's Iron Man match, but today's Iron Man match is catered to today's crowd. Whereas like they approached it in like okay, if this were a real thing, how would we do it? And it was like, and the commentary emphasized it too, which was like, hey, that first pinfall is going to mean something. So they were almost approaching it like, we know we got it, like talking about Bret and Shawn, we know we got an hour to go. We're not doing our high flying. We're not doing our other stuff. We're just kind of taking it easy, feeling each other out, because we know, we got another 50 minutes to go after these headlocks, so I really like that they approached it from a real aspect. And to me, it actually, like you said, it makes the big moves seem better, because they're going so slow that it's like, when it's like, bam, they hit something, you're like, holy crap, where'd that come from?
Right.
So I have a soft spot for this Iron Man match, but at the same time, viewing it with today's eyes, I'm like, wow, this is a very slow paced match. Very slow paced.
But yeah, to your point, in kayfabe, it makes sense because, and like in the build up to this, they were doing all like the goofy like montage videos of them training, like very Rocky-esque, where and Bret's like, yeah, I gotta prepare for Shawn. He's like a Mexican jumping bean in there. He's doing all his flashy moves and whatnots. And then Shawn comes out here doing the opposite of that. So in kayfabe, it's like, oh, he's kind of throwing Bret off because this isn't what he expected. And Shawn,
right,
you can't really beat Bret at that game. So that's why it's kind of a stalemate for the first like half of this match, at least. So story makes sense for sure, but it was very slow.
And I like that, at the time, especially too, it's like we thought this was going to be like 5 falls versus 5 falls. And like, I think everybody was expecting that. And that is not what we got at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the novelty of it. You don't know what to expect. Is it going to be a 10-10 match or is it going to be 0-0? And like 50 minutes left, 40 minutes left, nothing, 30 minutes left, nothing. And then like once like 30 minutes hits, the bigger moves start to be more frequent. Like Bret hits a big pile driver at some point. Shawn goes for the sweet chin music, but Bret escapes the ring. He like runs away from him, and they're kind of like do it a few times where Bret like slides out of the ring, and Shawn's like about to jump on him, but Bret gets out of the way, and it's like keeps trying it, and eventually Shawn's able to hit that from the top to the outside onto Bret. Throws Bret in the ring, hits a cross body off the top, so now he's like busting out all this high flying stuff. But with that spot, Shawn comes off with a cross body, but then Bret rolls through and it's a 2 count. It's like, wait, and the crowd was with it. I mean, that was like a really dramatic spot there. That was like really close 2 count. So at this point, we were kind of cooking a little bit. And then 20 minutes left. It's still 0-0. Yeah, it's like, man, is anybody gonna get a fall here? It's at this point, it's like, man, it's not going to be a high scoring game probably.
Shout out to the Tony Chimmel spot that happens earlier on, because it's just my favorite spot when like Bret's laid up against Tony Chimmel, the ring announcer, and then Shawn comes in with the sweet chin music. Bret moves and just clocks Tony.
I was wondering if that was Tony Chimmel. I wasn't sure.
It was, yeah. And then they cart him out, but they do it again. Kayfabe is so real at the time. They wheel him out and they're trying to do it like super low, so they're hiding underneath the ring apron and they're putting him out, but. Again, it was just like they did some cool stuff in this, but it went slow. But I think if you know that, like, if you just go into it with like, hey, it's not going to be as fast as a normal match, like, you appreciate it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the first like 40 minutes of the match, I think Bret tries the sharpshooter once and Shawn tries the sweet chin music like twice. So it's like those big moves are mattering, especially when it like gets to the end of this match.
Exactly. They're not like spamming their finishers. Like, you know, it's like they're waiting to build up to like that. And they're almost like testing each other to see like if they can catch them off guard. And like, it's good stuff, man.
I mean, I think the last like 10 or so minutes of this match are great. Bret busts out a superplex from the top, goes into lock in the sharpshooter, but it gets blocked. So Bret has to transition into a single leg crab, but Shawn gets to the ropes. Shawn's able to hit his elbow drop for a 2 count. Then Shawn goes for a missile drop kick, but Bret catches him out of midair and then locks in the sharpshooter with 40 seconds left. And he holds him in there. Shawn doesn't tap. And then the time hits 0. Bell rings. It's a draw.
The crowd was with it. The crowd was so with it in the last 40 seconds. Like, Bret locks in that sharpshooter. Now, you got to remember, again, for today's fans, I guess it's probably the feel of like a very similar feel to like, oh, can Cody win his first WWE championship? You know, it was like Shawn was the guy and it was very obvious, right? But it would almost be like, you know, another guy that we liked. Let's say Sami Zayn having the title, right? So it's like, it would be like Sami and Cody facing. Right. That was the feel of this, where it was just like, okay, come on, Shawn's got to have the title. It was, you know, to the point, just to give you to tell you how popular Shawn was. My friend is a lifelong Bret Hart fan, and he told me, he's like, you jumping on that podcast, WrestleMania 12, mention this. He was a lifelong Bret Hart fan, and he was rooting for Shawn Michaels to win because that people wanted Shawn Michaels to win that title that much. Really? So again, now imagine the last 40 seconds, right? So Shawn's our guy. Shawn's the next incumbent. We know it. We feel it. Bret catches him in the sharpshooter, which nobody gets out of the sharpshooter. Right. And there's 40 seconds left. That crowd comes unglued because they're like, do not tap, Shawn. Do not tap. Do not tap. And we're all going crazy at home. I remember jumping out of my seat going like, no, no, no. And then sure enough, the bell rings. But the problem with that is Shawn still lost. You're like, oh no, wait, the time's done. So Shawn, so Bret retains. So Bret keeps the title. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was very disappointing in that couple of minutes there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was great drama to your point, but yeah, ultimately it's a draw. But old boy Gorilla Monsoon, who was just reinstated as the president of the WWF, he gets in there. He's like, hey, sudden death, boys. So they restart the match. Bret's none too pleased with this. He gets back in the ring. I guess we're wrestling some more. And I don't know how long it lasts, but it's not too much longer. Shawn gets flipped into the corner, leaps over Bret, hits Bret with the sweet chin music, but he can't capitalize. He's so beat up. He just got out of that sharpshooter. They both get up kind of at the same time, and then Shawn hits him with a second sweet chin music and gets the win. I didn't know that was like the sequence that ended this. I knew it was a sweet chin music, but I didn't know the whole thing where like he hits one, they couldn't get up, and then he gets back up and hits him with a second one. I thought that was a really cool finish. And
He's collapsed into it too. It's like
Yeah.
it's such a good. I don't know. It's like one of my favorite sells of the Sweet Chin Music by Bret, and then also one of the best sells by Shawn, because they both just go down like two battered athletes. It's kind of like the cliche in boxing, the double knockout and the like getting like them both going down in Rocky. Like it's pretty much what happened here. Shawn pretty much just collapses onto Bret. It's good stuff, man.
It's like Bret had 0 HP and Shawn had 1 HP. Like it was just the slimmest of margins. But that's all it takes. The final score is 1-0. And by God, Kenneth, the boyhood dream, it's not false. That's for sure. So
it's come true. It's come true.
That's what they say. And then Shawn celebrates. And I have a question. I don't feel like I like Shawn here. I feel like he's comes off like a dick because he like shoves Earl Hebner out of the ring.
I was gonna mention it, which is funny because it's like, as a kid, you watch it and you're like, man, Shawn's whatever, this is great, and the boyhood dream has come true, and like you want to get that picture. In reality, this is 1996 Shawn Michaels, and he's a dick. And basically he's shoving Earl Hebner, and he's basically tell Bret to get the fuck out of the ring. As in, like, give me the final shot, the shot of me with this. And it's just like, my dude, like, think about it like this. You've had an hour match, an hour 5 at this point, I guess. You won the world title off a guy that you've idolized, you've wanted to be, and you're telling him to get the fuck out of the ring. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been at least a little bit better than that of like, hey, tell Bret, ask Bret if he's all right. Like, let me get the final shot, but he tells Earl, tell Bret to get the fuck out of the ring. And you can see, like, if you watch the footage, you can see, like, he's mounted. Yeah. And that's, like you said, he comes across like a dick. You can see that he's not saying anything nice and telling Earl to relay it to Bret. And it ruins it for me as an adult because I'm like, come on, dude. Like, this is your crowning achievement, man. And, like, you have to be a dick in that moment. That's my favorite wrestler, just FYI. Like, it's my favorite wrestler. So if I can say it, trust me, I get people shitting on him for this.
Yeah. But I guess it sparked one of the best rivalries of all time with this match, which I believe this is the first time they've had a match, or at least like on this stage, I guess. They might have had like they've
had matches. They've had matches, but this is probably the best way to say it is like, you watch Triple H versus The Rock for the IC title, and then when you finally see the Game versus The Rock for the WWF Championship, and then funny enough, they had an Iron Man match and stuff like that. It's like a different caliber. It's like different caliber athletes. That's what we were seeing here, which is like them in the main event facing for the first time as like those top guys. So completely different feel. And I think they delivered, man. I thought still maybe my favorite Iron Man match. Besides maybe, believe it or not, Bayley and Sasha. I think Bayley and Sasha might be my favorite.
Yeah. Brock and Kurt.
I like, what's funny? I like Brock and Kurt, but I think, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I expected that to be good. I think they've had Brock and Kurt are just so good together that it's like, it's hard for me to just look at that match. I look at the
faced each other so much like in that time span too. It's hard to segment that match.
Right. That's what it is. Yeah.
I haven't seen that match in a while, so I don't know if that how that lives up to it, but
I kind of want to watch it now that you've mentioned it, because obviously it's been enough time. It was sometime in 03. I want to say, what was it? Was it a SmackDown? I want to say it was just like a random episode of SmackDown. Yeah.
Probably like in the summer at some time, which I'm almost there in my timeline. So we shall see. But yeah, give that Revolution match a watch too. It was a very...
I'm mad that I didn't have a chance. I had a friend going through some stuff, so we had to talk. So I didn't get to watch that whole pay-per-view. Yeah, because I don't really need friends. I don't need a friend. I don't need a tag team partner. I just need to watch AEW Revolution.
You do.
But I could have bootlegged it like Cody Rhodes. So I don't know why the hell I didn't.
Could have lime-wired that bad boy and given it a gander. You still can
watch Ricky Starks.
He's not blonde though, but
he is sexy though.
I can't. Sonata is all I see. I'm telling you. It's not a bad thing. He's a handsome Japanese fella, as are you. So
Well, it's funny you say that because like I am half Asian, just for anyone that doesn't know. But my mom literally almost disappointedly tells me she sees it and she goes, "You look like one of those Korean boys now." And I go, "Mom," I look at her and I go, "Mom, that's a compliment because I am half Asian. Like for the first time in my life, I look a little Asian as opposed to looking like, I don't know, like, well, the way my sisters described it, they're the ones who dyed my hair. They were like, you look racially ambiguous. Like we can't place you now.
Especially with like the dark facial hair. It's like, it could be anything. Could be anything.
Especially like, I don't know if you noticed, I made it to, I might just shave this off and leave just the mustache.
Let's say your mustache looks a lot more powerful than it usually does. It looks like almost like a fake mustache.
No, I did that on purpose because like it was just one of those things where like the style, I just changed my style, man. I wanted to look good for you.
No, appreciate you.
You know, you got married and stuff. It made me feel really insecure because I was just like, I thought I had your eye, and I don't.
Just because, what's the saying? Just because you're like you can window shop. Just because you're at a restaurant, you can sniff the food.
Just because there's salad, just because there's salad at the restaurant doesn't mean that I can't undress you.
I think that's what it is. I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
And hey, I think we did a.
You know what show that nailed it? WrestleMania 12.
Oh,
WrestleMania 12. Yeah,
WrestleMania 12. Any other nuggets on this program?
Nope. Owen Hart definitely wrestled earlier, so no more nuggets. Do you not know that was his nickname? Yeah, there we go. Okay, thank God. Okay, I was like,
I'm not a nugget.
I'm a black heart. Damn it!
Yeah.
A winner, a soul survivor. Can I do it? Woo!
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. But do you have anything to plug? I know you're a retired podcaster, but Beans and Bowls or whatever your or your new show is, where can everybody?
Wrestling has beans.
Wrestling has beans. I like it. I do like it.
I really am gonna consider finding a use for that name because that is absolutely amazing. But youtube.com/Kenny for your thoughts. Go subscribe because I am building up some ideas and content. You know, it doesn't mean anything until I actually do them. But we're in WrestleMania season. I get inspired this time of year. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of coffee content, focusing on what do you call it? Almost focusing on color grading and things like that. So don't be surprised if all of a sudden you just see me full bore on that YouTube and on my Instagram and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to plug it now just in case. So youtube.com/Kenny for your thoughts. And then you can find me on social media. The new handle since the last time I was on this episode is just _Kenny Thoughts. _Kenny Thoughts. Make it nice and easy.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's on Instagram, Twitter, the TikToks, OnlyFans, yeah, everything.
That's where your coffee
and Mandy Rose are making a lot of money now.
Man,
a lot of money.
You're just brewing her coffee in the background.
And, not together. Oh. I just repost her content and then make money.
Right. Yeah. What would you think AJ Styles thinks of Mandy Rose's content?
I mean, I've never seen it. I'm a happily married man to my wife Wendy. But I mean, I'm sure that's a great avenue. I mean, it's probably elite, you know, too sweet, you know, if you will. Too sweet, me brother.
Once again, thank you to Kenny from Kenny for your thoughts for returning to the show. Always have a good old time with Kenneth. Follow Kenny on all the social medias, _Kenny Thoughts. All of his info in the description below. Follow me at Apron Bump on all the social medias as well. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of that. Subscribe, like, all that. Am I plugged up? Can we get to the segment? I've promised it to you. Let's grade the show. And let's see if WrestleMania 12 gave us the best or the worst of 1996 so far. Bartholomew, hit that jingle. WCW, ECW, WWF, who's the hardest promotion? Eric or Vince or Paulie? I think we can agree, though, it's mostly shit. So anyways, who's the hardest promotion of 1996? As of right now, as of WrestleMania 12. I forgot what WrestleMania we're covering for a second. Or, you know, up until this point, WWF is dominating so far with 18 points. WCW has 0 points, and ECW has 4 points. As a reminder, whoever wins out at the end of the year, whoever has the most points, I will purchase a replica championship belt of the company that wins. So high stakes, folks. High stakes. But even though WWF is in the lead here, things can swing. Things can swing very quickly, and we have a lot of year to go. So if you're not familiar with this, if this is your first time absorbing this, first of all, if you're on YouTube, you can see my screen. If you're on audio, I'll walk you through it as well. But basically, we look at this WrestleMania 12 event, and we first grade it from a scale of A to F. A to F? S to F? S to F. From a scale of S to F, S being the highest, F being the worst. And then we look at the show and we see, is it the best of the year, worst of the year in terms of in-ring, out-of-ring, and other criteria. And they all have point values associated to them, and that gets summed up into the final score. But let's get right into it, shall we? So WrestleMania 12, and you'll see it's not exactly chronological here, as I kind of pushed this up to review it during WrestleMania season. But the question is, what do we grade this bad boy? It's a good show. It's a good show. And keep in mind, we graded In Your House 6 a B. I think it's at least a B, for sure. For sure. Is it an A, though? Because the Backlot Brawl was fun, and some of the Iron Man match was fun. However, and Diesel versus Taker, dude, Diesel versus Taker was good. I thought even the opening six-man was fine. Brother, do I give this an A? It's either an A or a B for sure. What was In Your House 6? What was the main? Oh, that was the cage match. Did I grade In Your House 6 too high? No, that's the question. That's the real question. It was significantly better than House Party. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm giving WrestleMania 12 an A, folks. I think it gets the first A of 1996 so far. So so what does that do? So basically, we look at the averages per promotion. So WWF has an average score of 4, WCW 1, ECW 2, and these scores are associated. So WWF basically has an average score of B, WCW has an average score of D, ECW C, I believe, or F and D. Whatever. WWF has the best tier list average so far, which I believe was already the case, and it was. So nothing changes there. And look, we got a new best pay-per-view of 1996, WrestleMania 12. If I can type it. But previously it was In Your House 6, so that score does not change. Worst pay-per-view, still Super Brawl from WCW. Now in ring. As of right now, WWF has the best in-ring overall. I think I still maintain that for sure. Best match previously was Shawn versus Owen at In Your House 6. Do we change it to Shawn versus Bret? Now, of course, the score isn't going to change because it's going to be WWF regardless. But I think I do, man. I think I have, because just off of the stakes, off of the spotlight alone, I think so far, Shawn versus Bret, best match of 96 so far. Worst match, still Hogan versus Giant from Super Brawl. Nothing on this show I don't think was worse than that. Yeah, I don't think so. Wrestler of the Year, still Shawn Michaels. Yeah, still Shawn Michaels. Worst, still Hogan. Still Hogan. Out of ring. Best overall gimmicks, characters, promos, and storylines. So best overall, currently I have ECW because of the stuff they're doing with Cactus Jack and Shane Douglas coming back in. You got Tommy versus Raven. I will say, though, ECW is kind of cooling off so far, I think. So I'm wondering, do we change this to WWF? Because, man, you got Taker and Diesel going at it. Shawn and Bret is just kicking off. Stone Cold is establishing himself. You got Goldust really established. Dude, Goldust alone, I think, might warrant changing this to WWF. Man, got a clean sweep. Got a clean fucking sweep. Best character storyline. Currently, we have Diesel versus Taker. I think we changed this to Goldust. I think we do. But still stays WWF, so that's the same. Worst character storyline. Dungeon of Doom. Don't foresee that changing anytime soon. But I think that about does it. So WWF is cleaning the house, or whatever the saying is. All right, we're good. I think we're good. That'll do it. WWF has 22 points. WCW and ECW are trailing both with 0, but we have a lot of year left. And keep in mind, these grades are based off of where we are in the year thus far. We're only in March. And WCW and ECW both have a lot's going on later in the year. So things can change, but that's where we sit so far. And with that, that brings this old ditty to a close. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for touching. I don't know. But with that, I'll love you. I'll leave you. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great rest of your day. And I'm hard.
Yeah.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started.